The views expressed, opinions given, and any communication made between the hosts and guests of What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal Show do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of Para-X Radio, EMC Network, or all services that play this show. The hosts and services are not responsible for the actions of their guests, and the original rights of all intellectual property is retained by the creator, and all work is used with either permission or Creative Commons license. The show is for entertainment purposes only. And the cannon has fired.
Gorgeous tonight. They're out here. They're outside the fort right now.
Yeah, there's a lot of people out there. Actually, I mean, the flashlights are going, and they're all looking for ghosts, and it's families, not just professional paranormal investigators. But Bill Reap is here with Reap Investigation. Hopefully, we'll talk to them in a little bit. I know Paul Dixon. I want him to come in. And reporter Rebecca Brumble is stuck in the gift shop when she could be out here hunting.
Well, we haven't heard any blood-curdling screams, or we haven't heard any stampedes towards the exit, so...
Well, no blood-curdling screams because Trish left. The wonderful PDK sack. So we're kind of hanging out. This is episode 99.
It's a good number. It's
actually,
a good round number.
Ghosts of Fort Mifflin.
Next one's going to be the big 100.
Yeah. So it was like 100 hours of content, sometimes two. Over the website at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. And we're also kind of on Facebook.
we're on Facebook right now.
We are.
That counts for something.
But we're also recording.
I think it's been a really good day today. It's been a really successful horror at the fort.
The horror reading was beautiful. Casement 5 is the most haunted site in Fort Mifflin.
Continuing to mock Rob, Pete walked over to the giant.
Why don't you stop this and show yourself to me? I
brought back memories that made her cheeks flush hot. Damn those berries.
Sounds remarkably like a child.
You tell yourself you've lost your mind, shaking your head. And
his mother wished him pleasant dreams as she turned out the lights and closed the bedroom door. It was too late for that. I was there.
They did a great job. And we had Kenneth W. Kane. We had you. Michael Martin.
Michael. Yeah, I figured, how can I make myself sound more pretentious, because you're talking to...
You need that. You do.
You're talking to someone, you're like, yes, I'm an author. Mm-hmm. You just gotta throw that middle name in there. Makes you sound important.
You do. You need a very long name at the top of the book.
Exactly.
Not just a long title. I don't use long titles ever.
Yeah, but, no, of course not.
Nah. But we're here at Fort Mifflin. We're not in the map room, we're in the barracks. I found out because there's not a map in here. Apparently Rebecca Brumble said weird.
There are bunk beds.
There are bunk beds and very loose tables that break.
All of the furniture in the fort is not held together.
It really isn't. It's pretty
It's all just planks setting on top of things.
Yeah.
So remind me, is Fort Mifflin a revolutionary or civil?
Revolutionary War.
So the OG American conflict.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy to be here today, and
welcome west.
Yeah.
You don't get rest very much. Michael's from State College, right?
Yes. Well, sort of.
Yeah. You live in State College.
Yes. I drove down from State College.
Mm-hmm. But episode 99. We're kind of recording here. I'm going to see if I can find any ghost stories. We got a lot on our way. We had a wonderful horror author event here at the fort.
We had some potential ghost stories during the day.
Yeah.
PD Kasich.
Oh, she's got lots.
Was telling us that she came in and we were like setting up tables and stuff, and she was like, does someone here have a baby with them?
Yeah, she kept hearing a baby.
No, and there was no baby here.
Right, she did. And there was no babies on here. She said she heard a baby, and I know she said somebody plucked her leg at one point, and that happens a lot here. A lot of people get touched or plucked or kicked even or yelled at. The soldiers don't like being bothered.
And yet here we are bothering them.
Now the lady I spoke to today who works here, and I'll get that later, she works here at night. She's a seamstress, so she comes up and sews, or she's alone during the day, and she's had this ghost called Edward who keeps talking to her. She told a story where she was playing a song on the radio, and it was an old one. I believe she liked Lorena McKennitt, so it was moved through the fair, and apparently when she heard it whistling, and she turned off the song, and she heard him singing it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Edward the Ghost. And there was no one on the site anywhere. And probably even fewer who moved through the fair. But Lorena McKennitt is really nice. I like her a lot. Anyway, this is Michael Garrett. Phil had stuff to do. They kicked us out of here for about an hour and a half. And if you hear that above, we are right next to Philly International Airport on What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio on Friday nights at 9 p.m. EDT. Unless it's Daylight Savings Times. And then it's...
Daylight Savings Time, has it started yet?
I don't think so.
It's like, but
that's why we're still EDT.
It's soon though, right? Like it's like next week or something.
Right.
See,
it is actually.
I'm just gonna show up to work like an hour late one day. People can be like, Michael, where the hell were you? It's like, well, I guess now I know it's Daylight Savings Time.
There you go. So you've got that one excuse for one day.
Yeah, it used to be that my phone would just update automatically, and I have this ongoing saga where my phone broke, and it's been like 2 months and I haven't replaced it. So I do have a legitimate excuse. I didn't know. I get to sleep in a morning.
So we were over in Casement 5, the most haunted casement. And we'll show pictures on the website over at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com. And I recorded the entire event. So we got this great sound file that will turn into a show and use some of the readings in various shows. But Pete Molnar, Todd Kiesling, Kenneth W. Kane, Phil Thomas, my usual co-host, Michael Martin Garrett, did a wonderful poem that was so good.
You had a hand in that poem.
I did. I wrote half it and you stole it. No. No, I'm kidding.
No, I was just, the poem deals a lot with themes related to the Beat generation, right? And the Beats were like constantly writing in conversation with each other, and a lot of Kerouac's work, for instance, is like him writing about his friends and shit.
Kerouac.
And so it felt very fitting that there's this beautiful, brilliant quote from Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality.
Who wrote that?
Oh, this wonderful author.
Crazy guy.
Named T. Fox Thomas.
No.
Yeah, he's great. You should check him out. Bro.
Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality. You're searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to die. It's over at Amazon. You'll find links for that also at the show at www.whatayouafraidofpodcast.com.
And it is well worth your time. I was a big fan.
Thank you, Michael. Fort Mifflin has a tour guide that doesn't actually work here. He's dressed in period clothing. He kind of starts giving you tours, and then you go to the visitor center, and they say, nobody like that works here. We didn't have any tours today. Ooh, that's one of the ghost stories here at Fort Mifflin. Yeah, isn't that cool?
I like that.
But it's been a fun day. The horror reading was wonderful. It really was, and it was nice to organize it here. Because you do poetry mostly right now. That's mostly your public reading.
Well, that's most of what I've read and written in the past. My English minor in college was almost like exclusively like creative writing and poetry writing classes.
Yeah. And then you went to work for a political campaign.
Well, I was a journalist for a while, so I was doing a lot of writing and storytelling. So I have a lot of practice with like the craft side of things. And I've always wanted to write fiction. I was working through some depression that I deal with regularly, and I realized the only way to really get through depression is to just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and
one day at a time, 1 hour at a time.
And the only way to be a writer is to just keep putting one word in front of the other. You know, if you don't put anything on the page, it's not going to get there.
Right, and sometimes
you got to do the work.
You have to do it even when you don't feel good about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, even if you're not writing poetry and you're not doing your usual best, you can always come back and edit. Sometimes that block is just getting it on the page and accepting it's going to look like garbage at first.
Yeah.
That's important to know.
You know, no one writes a masterpiece their first draft.
There are no such things as Mozart. It's a myth. It is a myth, the Mozart myth, and a lot of people get stuck on that.
The Mozart myth would be maybe a good band name.
The Mozart myth.
I don't know. I feel like if you include Mozart in your name, you're setting yourself up. You know. Like
he's done that. Yeah. Mozart is dead. I mean, literally buried in some graveyard in Benny.
But I haven't heard that term before. Can you unpack that for me? Mozart myth, like
the idea that you can be born a genius, and the problem with that is that if you're not, then you don't start.
Yeah. It's very, very easy to get and feel discouraged.
Right, and a lot of people make excuses for themselves why they don't want to write. But good show.
Yeah, I really, really loved it. There was some real brilliance.
Right, and on this episode, we have another story from Karen Timper, who did Ghosts of the New Jersey Shore. We just featured episode 98 on her, and these are kind of tidbits recorded by David Walton, and I'm going to look into doing their Jersey Devil stuff on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio at 9 o'clock at night. And we're going to play this from David Walton on What Are You Afraid of? Horror and Paranormal Show at 9 o'clock at night on Parax Radio on Friday nights, and also on all major podcast download services.
Wherever podcasts are available near you.
Folklore of the New Jersey Shore. History of the Supernatural and Beyond. From Richard J. Kimmel and Karen E. Timper. Read by David Walton. Dempsey House, Leonardo, New Jersey. Mr. Dempsey was said to be sick, an older gentleman who was unable to get out of bed and depended on his wife to take care of him. One day she went out somewhere, and for some reason she never came back. So Mr. Dempsey just lay upstairs alone until he died. Soon after, one of the neighbours called the police, probably because of the smell of a rotting body. The officer entered the house, and a few minutes later he came back outside and hanged himself on a tree. No one ever knew why, because he never said anything. He just killed himself. Now, this would seem pretty bizarre until you walk across the street, where you will notice a rope dangling from a tree. In contrast to this, some say that Mr. Dempsey lived in the house with his wife and 3 kids, and one night he went insane, killed them all, burned the bodies in the 3 boilers that were down in the basement, and then took his own life. Should you enter the basement, you may see something run across it. If you do, leave as fast as you can and do not look back. Unfortunately, all that remains of the old Dempsey estate in the Leonardo section of Middletown is a rustic pump house.
What are you afraid of?
Hi, I'm Tim Wagner, Bram Stoker award-winning author.
Hashtag Grave Girls. This is Katrina Weidman of Destination America's Paranormal Lockdown.
This is Jim Chambers. I'm the author of The Engines of Sacrifice.
This is Jasper Barr, award-winning author of The Final Cut.
And you're listening to What Are You Afraid of?
What Are You Afraid of?
To What Are You Afraid of?
What Are You Afraid of?
Love it. Fantoxic, please. Fantoxic.
Explore the darkness.
Find out what goes bump in the night. Did you hear that?
Did you see that? What's that bright light in the sky? Oh, we so need to investigate.
Calling all witches and sensitives.
Explore the paranormal.
With hosts
Shauna
and Vicky.
From Geeks Paranormal.
Wednesdays
at 9 Eastern.
8 Central.
Let's explore. On paraxradio.com.
Mercy, a new horror medical thriller from author T. Fox Dunham.
published by Bloodbound Books. Based on the author's horrific battle with a rare form of lymphoma that involved intense chemotherapy and radiation, Fox turns the horror of his experience into terror on the page.
William Saint is dying of cancer. On most days, death seems like a humane alternative to the treatment. Stricken with fever, William is rushed to Mercy, notorious as a place to send the sickest of the poor and uninsured to be forgotten, and finds the hospital in even worse condition than his previous visit.
Willie's memories faded. He grabbed his sack head of the scarecrow, picking at the exposed chicken wire to hold them in. However, the memories fell out of the holes in his face. They wormed and crawled from the leather flesh and the old clothing of the scarecrow, then squirmed and wiggled down his body.
The grounds are unkempt, the foundation is cracking, and like the wild mushrooms sprouting from the fissures of decay around it, something is growing inside the hospital. Something dark.
Fangoria gives Mercy 3.5 out of 4 skulls. Dunham has channeled his many brushes with the other side into the exquisitely rendered, lyrical, supernatural hospital thriller Mercy.
It's feeding on the sickness and sustaining itself on the staff, changing them, and now it wants Willie.
Come now, Mr. Saint. Just a little more of that sweet milk. So salty and so good. You won't miss it. And we ever do so like our delicacies here at Mercy Hospital.
Part medical horror, part supernatural suspense, Mercy is a hard-hitting fever dream of a novel. I enjoyed the hell out of it. Tim Wagner, author of The Way of All Flesh and Eat the Night. Available from Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and bookstores everywhere in both print and digital versions.
Life is an addiction.
Let go. Let it all burn. Quality warning. This podcast often records in the field to gather the best in paranormal materia from witnesses. Often, we cannot control the quality of sound in this environment, such as you may hear distortions or perhaps the occasional moaning. But then again, we're not about control, are we?
Embrace the chaos.
So this is What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal Show on Parax Radio. We are up at Fort Mifflin right now, hanging out. The ghost hunters are hunting. It's pretty cool out there. A lot of flashlights going, a lot of families. We had a wonderful event today. Some great authors came down. The whole thing's recorded, so we'll be able to get that online for you guys. The chapter of the HWA Pennsylvania, and Nick Cato from New York. I had to keep throwing that in there. Authors from the PA HWA chapter, Michael Garrett.
Yeah.
You're not there yet, I know.
I'm getting there.
But you just sold a story to a very reputable market.
I did. I just got a story accepted by Flame Tree Publishing. Yes.
Very nice.
For a cozy crime anthology called 20 Column Inches, and it's going to be the debut of my recurring character, Raymond Riddles.
Raymond Riddles. Like
Raymond Riddles.
Raymond,
a kind of...
Raymond Riddles.
A sort of bumbling... pothead, small-town reporter.
Really?
Yes.
Any resemblance?
I plead the fifth. I have been a small-town reporter.
Yes, he has.
And you write what you know. This story and more to come, some more that I'm working on about him, sort of deal with him.
Good.
As he lives in the sort of strange place that central Pennsylvania is, bumbling around, dealing with government corruption. You know, the Nor hero we don't deserve, but maybe the one we need right now.
Or the one we get.
Or, either way.
All right. But we are here at Fort Mifflin. It was a fun day. A lot of ghost stories here, a lot of ghost hunters right now. I remember hearing stories about the casement where we were.
What's going on in the casement?
There is an aggressive spirit in there. They call him the Doctor.
The Doctor?
The Doctor. And he likes to grab people or shout them violently. It's happened to a few staff members. I think it happened to one guest. And they were just in there in the back of casement, one looking at the wall, or cleaning up, or doing whatever they do, or cleaning up at their class or something. And all of a sudden, something would shout them violently to the point where they nearly fell over.
Oh, wow.
Well, he'll grab you in there. It's a violent spirit.
Do you know how he got the name The Doctor?
I don't know. I imagine because he does examinations. There's a hospital on site over across the...
I suppose that's true. You know, this was a conflict area.
Yeah, it was a severe conflict area, Fort Mifflin, back when the Revolutionary War. America's oldest haunted site.
And can you imagine the horror of getting, battlefield surgery during the Revolutionary War?
Oh, I know. Well, I was a medical historian. Of course I know. Yeah.
And it's pretty terrifying to think about.
Yeah, well, there wasn't really surgery. There was amputation.
Yeah.
Surgery. You could remove a bullet or a thorn. Right. And this was the time when they were... Well, Revolutionary War was different. Up to Benjamin Rush and a little before then, they were using the 4 humeral system.
Oh, wow. Real...
Blood, phlegm,
real
black, and yellow. Yeah. And you would let blood to balance the humor in the 4 humors in the body, or cup it. And that was going on from the age of Galen until the age of America.
I didn't realize it persisted that long.
Oh, yes. Honestly. It was what was being taught in the Royal College of Physicians.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is where I learned it all in colonial medicine. But it started changing where Benjamin Rush, where he got rid of the humors, and he started using superficial medicine, empirical medicine, instead of doing scientific experiments to figure out what does what. It was just all observed, and obviously you can draw a lot of wrong conclusions from that. So
but it was a step in the right direction.
He looked at things like dirty ships, straw that was dirty, old clothing, swamps, decaying flesh, and connecting it to sickness. Mm-hmm. And he would say that it's the humors, the foul air, this stench theory, putrefaction. And so a lot of the colonial or American revolutionary medicine was about keeping soldiers' wounds clean, keeping them out of rotting areas, burying bodies, keeping water clean. And they weren't quite there to connect disease to microbes, but it was the beginning of the connection to where microbes come from. That was Benjamin Rush, so that would have been right about here. The casements are beautiful. There's a blacksmith shop here.
Beautiful is, I think, an interesting adjective, because they're also kind of unsettling.
It is a little at night. It is. We have to walk around a little bit when we're done and see everybody, But yeah, it's unsettling and terrifying, and we're isolated outside. We hear the airplanes go over all the time, and it makes me think of the blacksmith shop, which is a beautiful place to go see, and there'll be a lot of people over there. But it's one of the most haunted areas. And the big thing is that you'll be standing in the blacksmith shop here and looking at the tools or looking at something else, and all of a sudden you'll hear this screech, screech, screech. And the reason is because the tools start moving as if they've been used. Open the blacksmith shop.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Pretty creepy.
Okay, well, we are Michael, Martin, Garrett.
And T. Fox Dunham.
You gotta say it with more of a falsetto. T. Fox Dunham! There, it's been a falsetto all day. We were singing Staying Alive in the car on the way over here. This is the kind of thing you want to sing to the dead at Fort Mifflin.
Yeah, if there's one thing that's sure to bother ghosts, it's my falsetto.
Right, and my falsetto too.
Yeah.
That was good though.
Well, good is perhaps a bit generous.
We're the only ones here. My wife didn't hear that. She's studying over there. But fun night on Facebook. Fun night to be talking on What Are You Afraid of Empire Paranormal Show. And it's been a great night so far. It's been really dark out, which has been nice. And, we're on the river here, right into the airport. And hopefully we'll be able to get some of our ghost hunter friends in here to talk to us a little bit. But I think we're going to pause and go out and look for someone. We'll be back. We might do the Facebook again. You'll definitely hear us this Friday on What Are You Afraid of Paranormal Show.
Wish us luck.
Yes, wish us luck. We're going to go see if we're going to get someone. Think I'm a Ghost by Schrader Music Beat. The dead demand to be heard, and on What Are You Afraid of Horror and Paranormal show, Philadelphia's horror home, we listen.
New, true ghost stories every episode. Interviews with paranormal investigators. There is no supernatural.
The natural world is just far greater than we can perceive. More information and expanded content at www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com.
And follow us on Twitter at PFWhatAfraidOf. Find us on all major podcast services including iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify, iHeartRadio, or listen to us Fridays at 9 p.m. on the Para-X Radio Network.
I'm horror author T. Fox Dunham.
I'm horror author and filmmaker Phil Thomas.
So what are you afraid of?
If you like what you hear, leave us a review on your preferred podcast service.
What are you afraid of? Horror and paranormal show. Speak to the dead.
This Halloween.
Para-X.
Caliburn Press, LLC is a Madison, Wisconsin-based publishing company owned and operated by Alan Ledden. Caliburn works with talented writers, artists, editors, and marketers throughout the United States, and you can find their books through their many imprints that include Damnation Books, Eternal Press, Malaferia Press, Ciento Sordida Publishing, and Spiro Publishing. Please visit their website at sites.google.com/site/Caliburn Press LLC/home or Google Caliburn Press to check out their growing list of titles on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and any other place fine books are sold.
There are things that are unexplained, things that linger along the edges of reality. Often they leave trails to follow, many of which lead to darkened rooms and stairways that can take you, if you dare, only to one place: the Basement Files.
You're listening to the Electronic Media Collective Podcast Network. Yeah, it's a mouthful. For more great shows, visit electronicmediacollective.com.
Folklore of the New Jersey Shore. History of the Supernatural and Beyond. From Richard J. Kimmel and Karen E. Timper. Read by David Walton. Folk Bits. Emily. Hotel employees and guests have very often and openly told the story of the lady in white that they claimed to see at the Flanders Hotel in Ocean City, New Jersey. The locals know of her only as Emily, but in fact nobody knows her real name. There are no photographs of Emily, but she is described as having long brownish or auburn hair, a long white dress, barefoot, and appears to be in her early 20s. Another tale of Emily is that she roams this Ocean City beach, waiting for her husband to return from war. No one is sure if that is World War I or World War II. This boardwalk hotel was built in the early 1900s, and the locals feel that Emily roams the hotel and beach and could be from a completely different era, even before the Flanders was built. Hi, I'm David Walton, and I drop whatever I'm doing to read whatever Fox and Phil demand of me. My digital, as opposed to ectoplasmic alter ego, is called Brendan Shawland, who regularly plays guitar and sings in a virtual world. Brendan has a website, David doesn't. Bandcamp sales figures would suggest that Brendan's music is decidedly niche. If you want to be in the vanguard of support as Brendan heads towards global domination, just put Brendan Shawland in your favourite search engine, and you'll find his website very close to the top. You'll see what the human looks like, and you can check out the Listen to a Song page to access Brendan's unwillingly private world of creative output. The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out, they crawl all over your dirty snout, your chest. My name is David Walton. I am a vocal performer for What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal show. And I have carried the burden of a terrible secret. I am actually what is offensively called a ghost. For years now I have concealed my ectoplasmic existence from my friends and family, in fear of a common prejudice against ghosts, or what we like to call the disembodied. I have existed frightened of being discovered, unable to do physical acts that the embodied take for granted, such as walking a squirrel, or drinking a glass of vitamin E milk fresh squeezed from a whale. I grew depressed and even considered acts of self-harm or reincarnation, which is suicide for the disembodied. Such movies as Ghostbusters and its sequels drove my feelings of disenfranchisement, and I began looking for help, only to encounter painful exorcisms in the houses I haunted. Then I met two good people, it says here, Fox and Phil, at What Are You Afraid Of? Horror and Paranormal. And they helped me take control of my own life. Now, it is my choice whether I wish to make phantom bounds in the night, appear at the foot of your bed in darkness, or make your walls bleed. If you are a disembodied person like I am, and you're living a lie, What Are You Afraid Of? Can help you too. They are on at 9 p.m. on Friday nights at Paranormal Radio, leaving plenty of time for midnight haunting activities, and can be found on all major podcast services. Listen to their paranormal stories, interviews, humorous sketches and horror fiction to know that you are not alone. And if you are a member of the embodied, don't forget, you are only a single heart attack or tumour away from becoming one of us. This is David Walton. See you on the other side. Or as I call it, this side. And that is the end of a perfect day.
Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
Well, Michael, we're back.
And it's good to be back.
It is. We were out on the grounds. We went looking for the Reap team, Reap Investigations.
We came across a number of paranormal investigators out there prowling around. Yeah,
it's got a story. That's the fun
People are
part.
coming across some interesting things.
Now, they were over in the blacksmith, and they were having a sort of EVP on their phone detector, one of the apps.
Yeah, and it's sort of, I hadn't considered it, but it makes sense that there are app developers for that.
Yeah, they do. You can download it now.
Taking the field in the modern day, the next generation,
Ghost box. It's not like a regular box.
It's ghosty.
It's ghosty. But they called the word shopkeep.
Another person we came across was hearing doors rattle and locks rattle.
Yeah,
which is a little unsettling.
But we're here with the Reap team.
Some very special guests joining us.
And your names are?
I'm Kris Reap. I'm the co-founder of Reap Investigations.
And Bill Reap's boss.
Yes.
Yes.
My boss. And I'm Paul Dixon. I do the PR work, and I'm the tech specialist, investigator for Reap.
Investigator, yeah.
I heard of you a while ago. Don't ask me where. I'm probably doing the show, 3 years of the show, interviewing paranormal investigators, and some nights it's like, oh, I need to get some more ghost hunters on at some point. I just get online and type
really the burgeoning field.
So you're Paul Dixon, and you're Kris Reap. And they're out there, right now, your team, listening to EVPs.
Yes.
Yep.
Did you catch anything?
Yes, we did. We were over in the blacksmith shop, and we ran an EVP between planes. We actually got some response. It was hard to make out. It wasn't a very great EVP, but to what's your rank, what's your name, and what's your age, and we got response to all three of those, which is great because on our team, Bill and Tina get all the EVPs. Paul and I sit there all night begging for questions.
We can sit for 6 hours and get nothing.
Nothing.
And
tonight we got responses.
And now you got something to take back and be like, hey guys.
We need to run them through the programs, clean them up, and see what we get.
To see actually what they're saying.
Now, Bill and Tina get Class A EVPs. And we get nothing usually. But
okay, so what defines a Class A and a Class B?
A Class A is very clear. You can make out what the person is saying without any question about it.
Without having to clean it up,
right.
Or do any audio processing, that sort of thing.
Like Bill, the one day we were in a cemetery with a Revolutionary soldier's grave, and Bill said, "Are you here with us?" Mm-hmm. And play it back, and you hear very clearly, "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir.
And then there was a grave next to it of a woman with the same name. We said, "Who is she to you?" "Wife."
Wife.
Very clear.
Wow.
So
very personal answers.
Yes.
Yeah, just once wouldn't you want a ghost like give you a fact? You know, Abraham Lincoln was actually 33. Stories are running to the ghost. You would think if you died, you want to come back and share a little insight to the future. You know, like, what are my stupid grandkids up to? Or something.
Well, that's part of doing EVP sessions, is moving away from the typical answers. One of the things we've moved to is when I started, and when we actually first got together, we would run an EVP recorder for hours on end, then go home and review the evidence.
You would hear things
hours.
Right.
Well, now we have instant playback recorders, so we can ask a couple questions, play it back, get an answer, and actually facilitate a conversation.
Oh, wow. You have to have conversations with these beings. Right. What do they talk about?
It depends on what we ask. A lot of the times we'll get answers. Sometimes we get information that we don't ask. But I think if you lead the questions in the right direction, like here, I know this was military throughout the time. So asking age and rank is a good way to start, see if you get a response. And then you can go from there. You know, in the blacksmith shop, I was asking, what was your specialty?
Okay.
Did you make bayonets?
What
Did
kind
you
of
make
answers
horseshoes?
did you get?
I haven't been able to listen to it. I keep getting planes going over every time I try to play back.
Yes, there's been a number of them.
And later I'm gonna have to listen to that, but I haven't been able to listen to that clearly without a plane going overhead.
No, we did get some responses. But,
yes.
But we couldn't make them.
But not Class A's. They were.
It was some Class A. Oh, I know. Bill often brags that he got EVPs at the grave of Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
Yes, he does. We played them on that episode.
Those must be the most wholesome EVPs.
Yeah.
That was great. We were coming back from the Bel Air house, and Bill and I like to do side trips. The whole team when we're together. In this case, Bill and I were doing a side trip on our own, and we were at the cemetery and asked, I said, how does it make you feel that everyone believes you had tattooed arms and were an assassin, a sniper in the military, and killed all these people? And he said, sad. And we asked, what do you want to tell people? Be nice to each other. And it was in his voice.
Yeah.
There was no mistaking it.
Yeah, we have some of those on the show from this episode. Bill Reap was the Reaper, and they were pretty powerful. I mean, very few ghosts, historians and investigators can claim, I have the voice of Mr. Rogers.
Yes.
And you could confirm it and sell it.
Yeah. It was great. We do have it on video.
Oh, you do it on video?
We did video it.
Is it up on YouTube somewhere?
No, we have not. We're working on putting everything together.
It is.
And then, so we have a fair amount to release first. But we do have it on video. The EVP session at the cemetery in Shepherdstown with the yes sir wife. We have that on video as well. So you can see him asking the question, and that there's no one else there other than myself, and my voice is very distinct. So it backs up the fact that this is a genuine EVP. It's no one asking the question and changing their voice. Right.
In the bushes. Tonight, what else have you?
Well, I was in the bathroom, the gentleman's bathroom.
Which is exactly where you want
As
to
opposed to
encounter.
normally he's in the women's bathroom. It's okay.
Yeah, I get that. Me too.
And I go in, I do what I was in there to do.
Sure. The business.
Doing my business, and it sounded like somebody was in the stall.
Okay.
So I'm listening to him, and it sounds like I'm hearing like somebody moving around, like in there, like sitting down, like. So I get done, and I'm moving around washing my hands. I'm still hearing it. So I look down, look underneath the stall. There was no feet. But yet it sounded like there was somebody in there with me.
Oh wow. Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you maybe they were,
and they were like heavy too. They weren't like real light, but it was like.
Yeah, and earlier in the day, I went into that hallway outside the bathrooms, headed into the bathroom, and there was a woman's voice just chattering away.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, nothing distinct, but you could tell she was chattering away to someone, and I kind of looked around, no one there. So.
Well, I don't know if you talked to Trish Kasak earlier. She was floating around a lot. She was helping me out this morning before I got here. PD Kasak, horror author, but she was out this morning before there was anyone here, and she kept hearing the sound of a baby.
Really? She came in. Does anyone have a baby? Did anyone bring a baby with them?
No one had a baby.
No one had a baby. No.
Wow.
Oh, she came down to the Selma event in Norristown too when we had our table there, so we probably met her at some point there. Trish Kasak, PD Kasak, Bram Stoker Award winner and World Fantasy. I do the focus all the time.
She also, when we were down in the casement, setting up for the horror reading that we did earlier, we were just down there, just the three of us, and she felt someone like grab her hand. She turned around, there was no one there. Wow.
Well, we find that there are a lot of people who tend to block out the paranormal, and then there are many people who they're in that world.
Right.
Yes.
Have you seen that?
Oh, absolutely. It's we were at the Lord Baltimore recently,
Last week,
and Lord Baltimore is extremely active, and many stories from staff, and then we start talking to the security guards, and one in particular, we asked him, "Have you experienced any activity here?" He says, "Nope, don't believe in it. Nope, but there's all kinds of strange things. I don't believe in it though." And he said, but when I started here 15 years ago, when I was much younger, I was afraid to walk these halls. He said, I've heard reports, I don't believe in it. But when you look at his face, he knows there's unexplained things happening. He just doesn't want anything to do with it. If you don't acknowledge it, it doesn't exist.
And that's what I keep hearing.
I keep trying to do that with all my problems,
And those are different. Yeah, I can actually do that. And there is a certain curiosity towards ghosts. There are a lot of people who try to invite it in, sometimes the wrong things.
Right.
You've heard the story.
And as much as people want to criticize ghost shows, some of them, you gotta critique them, but it's opened up the paranormal field to so many more people, and more people are willing to come forward and say, yes, I have things happening, I have something I can't explain, rather than in the 70s when Ed and Lorraine Warren were the top in the field and leading the way. People didn't admit they had things going on because they were thought of as crazy.
See, back then, when you talked about like the paranormal and everything, they thought you were crazy. So a lot of people didn't say anything.
Or a Christian.
Yeah.
And they would think you were cursed for some reason, or they'd want to get away from you. These dark presences and hauntings are very American, centric culture. I mean, every culture has demons, but I've never seen the potency of anything but a Christian demon and the head trip that it plays with. And that's something I always like to talk about too. Now, I know demons, which are, many say, never living, inhuman, and that sort of thing, though other people have other theories. We've got a lot of people on. They are different than something that was alive that will haunt you. They will try to dominate you and create a lot of darkness. Now, Bill was talking about this. Before the advent of paranormal television, all these movies, people might have a haunting, and it would be something light or something they could ignore, and then their fear would get in the way, and they'd be like, oh, it's a demon in the house, I need to bring in priests, or
the D-word.
Yeah, get an exorcist, and then you have 10 paranormal groups come in with everything with the psychic, and one psychic will be like, there's 30 ghosts here, 10 Christian this, and then the next one will come in and go, there's 4, and I've heard these stories from people who've been So anyway, leading back from my diatribe, there was a question before, I lost it somewhere. Do you guys believe in demons?
They exist.
Okay.
They're extremely rare. Thankfully, right?
1 in a million, if that.
3%, if that.
If that.
Okay.
The demon word is thrown around
a lot.
We've had cases where we've had to go in where a team went into a home,
Right.
did their investigation, packed up, left. The family didn't hear from them. A month later, they get a call from a producer saying, we were told you have a demon in your home and we want to do a story in it. On it. And these people are like, what? It's the first they're hearing of it. Or a team says, oh, you have demons in your home, and there are small children in that home. I'm sorry. Unless you can verify that there's actually a demonic energy, don't throw the word demon around. You scare people. And it's so rare that there's demonic energy. There is malevolent energy. There's evil energy. There's unhappy energy. Just like the living, there are different emotions and personalities attached to different spirits. So something may seem evil, and it's just a really unhappy spirit. Someone who was miserable in life may still be miserable after death, and while they're waiting for the final journey.
With some influence over us that frightens us because we don't see it.
Right.
As prey and predators, as animals, when we don't see something that's attacking us, we get very frightened.
Fight or flight.
So why do you think people resort to, as you put it, throwing around the D word?
Shock value.
Yeah.
Shock value. Here, throw this out there and we can save you. I've heard of groups going into homes saying, there's a demonic energy here, but we'll get rid of it for you for $500.
You know what? We hear that all the time.
If a team is saying they're going to come into your home and remove a demonic energy and they're going to charge you for it, run.
Right, yeah.
We help families who have hauntings. We help families who have energies in their homes. Never once have we asked for money to do it.
And we will never ask for money.
Never. It's part of our responsibility to educate people. REAP is research, education, and awareness of the paranormal. We aren't out to scare people. We don't want people, even if we say there's something really negative here, we keep that to ourselves and we try and figure out what it is so we can give a logical, precise answer to the family. And we come up with a plan on how to help them.
How many families have you gone through that kind of process with? Even just like a ballpark?
Let's say over 20.
Wow. Okay.
And less than 100. Not only do we do public investigations where we bring in the public, we teach them how to use equipment, we guide them on an investigation. We also do locations where just the team investigates, and we also do private residences. And if someone calls us and says, look, we have something going on and we have children in our home, we drop everything and we get there as soon as we possibly can. If someone calls us from Virginia and we can't get down there right away, we call someone and say, look, there's a case here, but we call someone we trust, we know is reputable, and isn't going to scream demon the minute they walk into a home.
That's the buzzword. That's what it really comes down to. It's just the buzzword, and everyone gets a thrill out of it. A lot of these hauntings can happen when they're not really resisting it, they're inviting it in. Yes. But they're curious, they want to know, they want to get to know this being. In fact, many times people are flattered that they are being haunted.
Hey demons, it's me, your boy.
You're doing your Italian again.
It just happens, yeah.
We're winding down at Fort Mifflin. This has been cool.
Yeah, it's been a really great day.
Location.
It's wonderful. Can't wait to come back. We were driving up this morning, it was misty. We're like, oh no, and then we went over out to dinner and it was starting to rain on the car. I'm like, every time. Last year, over in the basement where we had the horror reading, very good horror reading, horror at the fort, What Are You Afraid of? Horror Paranormal show, it flooded because a torrential downpour started the last year at 6 o'clock.
People had to wade through it.
We had to wade through the water in the casement to get out of the reading room and then back to our cars. It rained so hard, and then we set up in here and we were drying out. Me and Phil and some good friends on. that Darcy Ward was on, if I recall.
Whereas this year it seems like the weather's been much more conducive to the investigation. We were talking to a family that came out. They said it was just a spur of the moment thing, and it's.
Trish was saying about temperature. I thought it would be warmer in the casement. Now she's been going into buildings that were really hot 1 minute, and then she'll come back in, it'll be ice cold. She's had temperature changes. So I guess for every haunting, like a sickness, there are symptoms. Temperature changes, phantom noises, psychic visions, knocking on the wall, the shape of animals, Pac-Man coming back. But there's always seemed to be...
If you experience any of these symptoms and they last for more than 4 hours...
Yeah, take Parax. Take some Parax.
Call Reap Investigations.
If you see Pac-Man coming after you... Call me. I'll give you numbers.
I have no idea if that's copyrighted or not. I'm going to have to look into that. But the weirdest things can turn up. I'll put that on Facebook, and they'll be like, the Pac-Man Corporation has a fine against you. How did they find me? I'm running to the halls with those ghosts chasing me.
Yep. You gotta eat one of those special pellets,
Oh, right, yeah.
The magic blue pill.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say Pac-Man was an appropriate topic, but they do have ghosts.
They do have ghosts.
Yes, they do.
That is,
How would you do an exorcism on a Pac-Man ghost?
I do, as I said, I think the key is really, it's the blue pill, It's the video game's equivalent of like burning sage or something,
And if you take the blue pill and it lasts more than 4 hours, see a doctor.
Or call Reap Investigations.
Yep.
Call Reap Investigations. Well, you know what they say, what happens when you don't pay your exorcist bill? You know.
Repossessed.
They repossess.
I can't believe I didn't see that one coming.
Anyway, I think we're winding down. This has been episode 99.
Episode 99. Insert title here.
No, that'll never be marketable. Who we've been talking to.
Kris Reap.
And
Paul Dixon.
And you were Reap Investigation.
Yes.
I was Reap.
Yeah. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having us.
It's been fun, yeah. So I'm T. Fox Dunham.
And I am Michael Martin Garrett.
And I'm Bill Thomas. No, I could edit that in. He's here. We haven't done anything to Bill. He's not a ghost, but he's going to turn up as an EVP on here. My co-host cut me out of the show.
Fox, how could you?
You would not believe how many times I've heard that. But episode 99.
All right, well, this has been What Are You Afraid Of? More Paranormal Show.
Paranormal Show. www.whatareyoufraidofpodcast.com.
The sun goes down, the moon comes up, and here come the frights. Here come the frights of Halloween night. They're hunting, it's daunting. They carry flashlights. They carry flashlights on this Halloween night. If you hear a rapping on your door, prepare yourself for a dreadful fright on Halloween night. Halloween night. Halloween night. Halloween night. Werewolves are around, ghosts make no sound. Gremlins are creeping and monsters are sleeping. Skeletons are dancing while the vampires bite on Halloween night. On Halloween night. Have you heard a rapping on your door? Oh, it's such a dreadful fright on Halloween night. Halloween
Werewolves are around. Wolves make no sound. Gremlins are creeping around. Monsters sleeping. Skeletons are dancing while the vampires bite.
Hey demons, it's me, your boy,
T-Fox Dunham! T-Fox Dunham lives in Philadelphia with his wife Allison. He's a lymphoma survivor, cancer patient, modern bard, and historian. His first book, The Street Martyr, was published by Gutter Books. A major motion picture based on the book is being produced by Throughline Films. Destroying the Tangible Illusion of Reality or Searching for Andy Kaufman, a book about what it's like to be dying of cancer, was recently released from Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing, and Fox has a story in the next Stargate anthology from MGM and Fandemonium Books, Points of Origin. Fox is an active member of the Horror Writers Association, and he's had published hundreds of short stories and articles. His motto is Wrecking Civilization, one story at a time.
Phil Thomas is an author and screenwriter from the suburbs of Philadelphia. His screenplays have been produced into feature films False Face and Always from Darkness, and are available in major retailers such as Best Buy and Target, as well as availability on Netflix and Amazon On Demand. His short films can be viewed on his YouTube channel, Film Zero Presents. He is a member of the International Association of Professional Writers and Editors, and he currently writes for Cultured Vultures, Game Skinny, and BloodyDisgusting.com. His first novel, The Poe Predicament, is being published in 2018 by Caliburn Press.
The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.